definition of colonization. Indigenous people throughout the world struggle with overcoming oppression from colonization. The colonizers do this. Number one, they force their way into our world. Among Native people, even when we signed treaties with the federal government, we had white flags of truce hanging in our camps. And we thought that we had created a safe place by signing the treaty and having the white flags up. But the U.S. government, the soldiers and the cavalry would ride in to our camps of peace with weapons of mass destruction, and they would destroy especially our family members, women and children. And so they forced their way into our world with superior military power. That's the first component of colonization. And then secondly, they created policies aimed at destroying our indigenous values and way of life. The boarding schools is a prime example where our ancestors, and even there are boarding schools today that exist in the U.S. But historically, those boarding schools' philosophy was to kill the Indian and save the person. Our young people were taken from their homes, relocated to a boarding school hundreds of miles away. Oftentimes they had to stay there year-round until they never had a chance to go home, to visit their family, connect with their culture. Their hair was cut, they had to wear uniforms, they couldn't speak our language, and the goal was to remove their native culture. That's the second part of colonization. The third part is policies were put in place that manipulated and controlled our way of life. And what are examples of that today? The BIA, IHS, Department of Justice, SAMHSA. You can name the litany of federal programs that try to manipulate our existence, and it works. It's effective. ESR, Ron, raise your hand if you feel like the federal government is always trying to manipulate your way of life. You can let out a war whoop if that's true. Aho. Okay, and then the last component, the fourth component of colonization is racism. And racism is the belief that race accounts for differences in human character or ability, and that a particular race is superior to others. So I want everyone to make a little noise if you have witnessed and seen and experienced racism in your lifetime.
Yeah.
Oh. Hey. Well, here's something that we need to be very mindful of. Colonization will never end. Stronger nations are always going to want something from weaker nations, whether it's land, gold, minerals, oil, whatever it might be. They're going to find a way to take it. In the history of American Indians, they called it manifest destiny. It is our God-given right to take the land and the gold from the native people. So this presentation that we just are completing on colonization is awareness and education that our young people need to know. So I want everyone to raise both hands and say, I'm going to teach the definition of colonization to all young people. Right.